right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving into something that might seem, I don't know, kind of corporate-y at first, executive summaries versus introductions.
Yeah.
But trust me, this isn't just about, like, boardrooms and jargon.
Oh.
We're talking about how to make your ideas really sing.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're pitching some million-dollar project or just trying to convince your friends to try that new restaurant you're obsessed with.
It's about making sure that your brilliance, that spark, it doesn't get lost when you try to explain it to someone else, no matter who they are.
Exactly. That's such a good point. And to help us navigate this whole communication maze, we're turning to an article from A. It's actually aimed at students, which I always think is a good sign.
Yeah.
They know how to break down the complicated stuff into bite-sized pieces.
They really do. And their student-friendly approach, it gets to why so many people get tripped up by this whole summary versus intro thing. They think they're basically the same.
Right, right.
But that is a misconception that can really, undermine your whole message if you're not careful.
Okay, so let's just shatter that misconception right here, right now. So picture this. You've poured your heart into this project, this amazing report. It's full of insights, right? Now you got to get that brilliance in front of the right people. But here's the catch.
They're busy.
They are so busy.
Yeah.
Maybe they're CEOs with these inboxes that never end, or investors who have a million things fighting for their attention, or even just, your friend who's glued to their phone 24/7.
Always scrolling.
Always scrolling.
Yeah.
You need a way to cut through all that noise.
And that is where the executive summary comes in. It's like the hero of our communication story. Think of it like the movie trailer for your masterpiece. Just the highlights, what captures the essence of your work, even if someone only has 2 minutes to spare.
Okay, so it's not just summarizing, it's strategic summarizing.
Yeah.
This is your chance to show them what they absolutely need to know, those takeaways that make them sit up and go, whoa, tell me more. And the article pointed this out, and I thought it was so smart. They said, a good executive summary has to be able to stand on its own.
Absolutely. It's not a teaser. It's like the whole shebang in concentrated form. It's concise. Yeah, maybe 10% of your original document. But don't let that fool you. Those few paragraphs, those are prime real estate. They got to work hard.
So someone could read just your executive summary,
Yeah.
like nothing else. And they should come away understanding the problem, your solution, why it even matters.
No pressure.
Right, which is why this is a skill worth honing. Because nailing that executive summary, that could be the difference between getting funding, landing that amazing job, or even just, like you said, getting your friend to finally watch that documentary you won't stop talking about.
100%.
It's about understanding, people are busy. They don't have time for the whole story up front. You need to prove your point quickly, concisely, before they're willing to invest more time.
Makes sense. No one wants to wade through pages and pages just to figure out if something's relevant to them. You got to grab them from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
Give them that aha moment. It's like the opening scene of a movie. It needs to hook you. And that is the perfect transition to our other VIP guest star today, the introduction. So, if the executive summary is that action-packed trailer, the intro is more like that artfully crafted opening scene. It sets the mood, it introduces you to the main players, hints at what's to come, but it's less about delivering the big bam and more about drawing your reader into this world you've created.
It's about that context, that flow. You're not hitting them with all the answers right away, but you're setting the stage. You're getting them curious so they want to know more.
Yeah.
It's like when you open a really good book and you get pulled right into that world.
Right, and that's where the tone and the language you use, that's where it gets really interesting. Think about it. You wouldn't talk to your boss the same way you'd tell your grandma about your day.
Totally different vibe.
Yeah.
So the executive summary, that's all business. Straight to the point, no messing around, just the facts.
Exactly. Efficiency, impact, that's what you're going for. Clear, short sentences, active voice, none of that jargony stuff.
Oh, jargon, the enemy of clear communication. Always.
The worst. It's like trying to watch a movie in a language you don't even understand.
The worst.
Super frustrating.
Yeah.
But with the intro, you can loosen up a little bit. You have more room to play with the language, get your reader involved. You can even let a little bit of your own personality peek through.
Because we love a bit of personality. And it's true, storytelling, that's not just for kids, right? The AHelp article, they even used the word narrative when they talked about intros. Yeah. You're creating this whole experience, not just throwing facts at people. Think about the difference between a textbook and a really engaging article, even if they're on the same topic.
Huge difference.
One might be full of information, but the other one makes you actually want to keep reading.
Totally. It's about inviting your reader to come along on this journey with you. And every good journey needs a good starting point. A good intro, it should make the reader feel something, even if it's just curiosity, It sets the tone for everything that comes after. It makes them want to dive in.
First impressions matter.
They do!
And speaking of which, the article had this table. It was so helpful, comparing the two side by side, like a cheat sheet for anyone who's ever been confused about which one to use and when.
Oh, yeah, it's super useful.
Want to run through some of those key differences?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first up, what is each part actually telling you? We kind of touched on this, but it's important. The intro is like, hey, here's what this document is about, and here's why you should care. But the executive summary is more like, boom, here are the key takeaways and what they mean for you.
Yes, it's the difference between setting the stage and taking a bow at the end of the play. One is all about anticipation, the other one is about impact.
I love that. And speaking of impact, I feel like that leads us right into our next point. Their objectives.
For sure. So the intro, that's all about context, giving you the background, getting you ready for what's coming next.
Right.
But that executive summary, that's about delivering those key takeaways, but in a way that helps someone actually make a decision.
Which, again, goes back to knowing your audience, right?
Yeah.
If you're talking to a room full of busy people, that executive summary, that's your superpower.
Is.
You're respecting their time, but you're still making sure they get the need-to-know info.
Exactly. And that respect for their time, it shows up in the length too, don't you think?
Absolutely. You're not going to write a 5-page executive summary for a 10-page report.
Oh, right.
That defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
The article, they said, aim for about 10% of the original document length for your summary, which seems like a good rule of thumb.
It is, and that forces you to be choosy. You got to make every word work hard. Every sentence has to really land, which in some ways can make it even harder to write than the intro.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you're not just summarizing. You're like distilling it down to its purest form.
Yeah.
You're basically creating this mini masterpiece that captures everything important about your work.
Exactly, like a bonsai tree. It's small, but it's perfect.
Yes.
And just like with a bonsai, you have to be really careful about what you trim away, what you keep. A good executive summary, you got to have that same eye for detail, for what's essential.
And speaking of what's essential, that takes us to a really key point that the article made, which is when to write each section.
Right. It seems obvious, but you can't write a good executive summary until you know what you're summarizing.
Right.
So that comes last, after you've done all the hard work of research and writing the main part.
You got to have those main points, those conclusions, totally clear in your head before you can even try to squish them down into a summary.
Yeah.
But the intro, you can usually tackle that once you have a good sense of where you're going with the whole thing.
Exactly. You want to set the stage, but you don't need to have the whole play memorized before you raise the curtain. So we've talked about the structure, the goals, even the timing of these two elements. But there's another layer to this, wouldn't you say? Something a little harder to pin down, but just as important.
Oh, absolutely. It's that je ne sais quoi, that extra something, that
The magic.
the magic, the tone,
Yeah.
the language.
Yes, because you can have all the structure and clarity in the world, but if you're not captivating your reader, they're going to check out.
It's the difference between someone just, reciting facts at you and a TED Talk that gets you all fired up. And get this, the article actually gave us this example, an intro and executive summary side by side for like a pretend business document. Want to check it out?
Yeah, let's hear it. Hearing it out loud always makes it clearer,
Totally. Okay, so the intro starts. Welcome to our analysis of the current trends in the renewable energy sector. It's like they're starting a conversation, not just like data dumping on us.
Exactly, setting the scene. They want to make us curious about this analysis. And then they go on, this report discusses the latest advancements, market dynamics, and future prospects of sustainable energy solutions. So they're giving us the roadmap, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's where we're going.
It's that part in the movie where they show the map and the little line is like tracing the route,
Yeah.
It's going to be a journey.
Right.
Okay, but then the executive summary, totally different vibe. It's like, this report offers an analysis of the renewable energy sector, focusing on 3 key areas: trends, technological innovations, and market movements. Boom.
Yeah.
No time wasted.
Straight to the point. It's action-oriented, like here's the important stuff, and then they actually give you the findings, what it might mean, all that.
It's almost like, I don't know, food.
Okay.
Like the intro's the appetizer, gets you ready. The executive summary, that's your main course. It's filling, it's satisfying. But even after a great meal, sometimes you want a little something sweet, right?
Always room for dessert.
Exactly. And that's where that whole goose analogy comes in.
Uh,
Okay, I'll admit, that made me laugh when I read it. Like, they compared writing executive summaries to, get this, the likelihood of being chased by a goose.
it's a weird one, right?
So random.
It makes you think.
It does, it does. Because once I got over, like, the funny image, I realized they have a point.
Right.
Because you might not work in some big corporate office, but these communication skills, they're useful everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Think about how often you have to summarize things in your life.
Right.
Telling your coworker about a meeting, explaining some news story to your friend, even just, like, how was your day, honey, to your partner.
It's true. It's everywhere.
You're always boiling information down to the most important bits. And that's what a good executive summary does so well.
Exactly.
It reminds me of that quote. It's like, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
Yeah,
And that's true for summarizing other people's stuff,
Right.
but also for getting your own thoughts straight.
totally.
Yeah.
And the article, they had this fun suggestion. They're like, try using an AI summarizer.
I know, right? It's like having a little writing coach in your pocket helping you practice.
Why not? Right.
Because the more you practice this whole distilling information down thing, the better you'll be at communicating, period.
100%. You got to find that balance. Being thorough, but also keeping it interesting.
Right. And it all goes back to that spectrum, right? On one side, you've got that super focused power of the executive summary.
Mm-hmm.
On the other, there's that magic of a good intro pulling you in.
It's the variety. That's what makes communication interesting.
And knowing when to use which one, changing your tone, the words you use, depending on who you're talking to, what you're trying to do, that's what makes you a communication pro.
It's like having all the right tools and knowing which one to use for the job.
Exactly. So next time you have this amazing idea, whether it's a big presentation or just chatting with someone, take a second, think. Which tool do I need right now? Am I setting the stage, or am I bringing the house down with a big finale?
Are you summarizing or are you captivating?
Because little choices like that, they can completely change how your message lands and how well you connect with people.
That's something to think about.
It really is. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder your own communication toolbox. Until next time, happy communicating, everyone.